The obsolete model views the human as a machine or an animal. Because of these views, the Westerners would attempt to make lead into gold only to produce more lead. So as a result, Western medicine makes people sicker, and a so-called justice system is controlled by people who are criminals themselves. Therefore, the social vibration has degenerated into an atmosphere of crime, sickness, and disease. And this is why it is important to strive to be like Haru. This is why it's important to make your ancestors proud by learning the lessons of the past and building off of those. Not necessarily going back, and saying, okay, well, since they lived like this, that's where they were back then, and to honor them, I'm going to go back. No. The concept of Sankofa was to be like the bird that flies forward, but looks backwards, remembering where his origin lies. But not to basically go backwards, okay? But remember, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. So anyway, it is from ancient Kemet, Nubian Kush, we get the legend of Haru. And it is said that Haru overcame the vicious rule of his tyrannical uncle Set. Haru defeated Set and avenged the death of his father Asar. Haru literally means one who is at above, or one who is above. And one form of Haru is a falcon, who can see past the illusion of the material plane. Haru is the word made flesh. It was As, the mother of Haru, who convinced Ra to transfer his sacred name into her body, and which she passed on to her son Haru. So Haru is the original widow's son and a true chief cornerstone, whose rightful place is at the top of the pyramid. So when you want to become Haru, that means that you rise above the four elements. You rise above zodiacal influences. You have a lot of people who think that, oh, because I'm a Scorpio or a Taurus or I'm a Sagittarius, I need to live up to these signs and symbols and try to act like these things and whatnot, and being prone to these influences, and therefore they allow something outside of themselves to control them, So just because you're not caught up in Western religion, you can even get caught up in astrology and become a slave to that if you do not understand that the power is within. So, Haru means one that rises above. I'm going to keep stressing that because that is what your function is to overcome obstacles. So the Shemzu Haru are the companions of Haru who strive to overcome Esfet. And Esfet is disharmony and disbenefit. Unfortunately, a lot of conspiracy theorists who have been influenced by judgmental religious fanatics continue to spread falsehood about the Nile Valley civilization. So I can assure you that the teachings of Ma'at and Ismail Tawi ain't got nothing to do with no reptilians or Satan or the dreaded Illuminati. This is an African tradition, and it has been given us the legacy, that we can claim as a tradition, set down by our ancestors that still survives throughout Africa in various traditions that we know today, like Yoruba, Voodoo, and the Bakongo tradition. So the African has been given the challenge to know and be the masters of self, even in the face of harsh oppression, slavery, and so forth. We are to become fully self-integrated beings through the unification of the upper and lower self, Kemet. This is taking on the role of Haru Smai Tawi, Haru who unites the two lands. The teachings of Ma'at and Smai Tawi are examples of scientific spirituality meant for the mastery of the individual and the enlightenment of civilization. So the goal is to reach enlightenment, become a netter or intur, and break free from all forms of bondage and slavery. For too long, the African and his or her descendants throughout the diaspora have allowed themselves to be seen as descendants of slaves and victims of exploitation at the hands of Europeans. It is true about the slave trade, and racism has been a challenge for our people worldwide. However, there are those who act as though our legacy and everything else doesn't begin beyond slavery. And I cannot stress this point enough, because this has led our people to believe that our ancestors made no contributions to the world before whites came and rescued them from the savagery through the price of slavery. And 2, because chattel slavery was required to dehumanize its subjects. 3, now much of the younger generations identify learning with acting white, and he seemed unaware of the fact that our ancestors came from a legacy of sovereignty and progress. So the process of dehumanization involved constant beatings, torture, rape, and murder. And these events have left deep psychological scars on the descendants of Africa, we who call ourselves blacks. And also, it has led to the present-day dysfunction of black family structures. Then you have the need to recover from the destruction of the images in movies, magazines, and a falsification of what is called black history. So as a result, many of us have learned to hate ourselves and look down upon those that look like us. So we must learn to love our thick lips, our 9-ether hair that you've labeled as nappy. And it seems that the ghost of Willie Lynch still haunts the black man and black woman to this day. So this is why we gotta alchemically pull ourselves from out of that state of being a Negro and understand our true Nubian heritage, Nub meaning gold. So you want to become a person of gold. As soon as we part from the tradition of seeing ourselves as descendants of slaves, that'll be one step to move forward. We'll get out of that whole idea of good hair and bad hair and all that crap. So the so-called black man and woman seem to have forgotten to forgive themselves for suffering at the hands of racism. And we've also have given our power and hope away, thinking that some external messiah is going to come and rescue us. Like one example, Barack Obama, who's now the president. That doesn't mean that racism or white supremacy has been eliminated. So we're still shown in movies where white Egyptians who live in Northeast Africa who are descendants of the Nubians. So logic would basically say that this doesn't make sense. This should tell you something. Understand this. You are the creator of your own form. You are manifesting your characteristics, your thoughts, whether it's sickness and disease or beauty and health. The work of the alchemist is to transform this state of mind and awaken their inner power.